It was January 3rd, 2020. A convoy leaves Baghdad airport. Black SUVs. Inside one of them is the most powerful man. His name is Qasem Soleimani, the architect of Iran's vast web of militias, proxy wars, and power plays.
Moving.
Get back on those guys. Here we go.
Yeah, another second.
Other people coming out of the mosque right now.
Ready! Go for the van. Secondary.
And just moments later, he was gone. A US drone strike vaporized his convoy. Because you see, Soleimani didn't just command an army, he controlled an empire, an invisible empire. And it begs the question, what if Iran already rules the Middle East without firing a shot? To understand Iran's invisible empire, you have to meet its beating heart, the IRGC, which stands for Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. It's not just an army, the IRGC is a state within a state, formed after the 1979 Islamic Revolution to protect the regime. Today it runs military bases, businesses, ports, intelligence, and even media networks. And it has a secretive branch called the Quds Force. They don't fight wars, they shape them. They train militias in Iraq, arm rebels in Yemen, sneak missiles into Lebanon, and form proxy networks so deep even their enemies don't always know who they are fighting. And for over 20 years, one man built that entire empire, Qasem Soleimani. So who was he really? In the West, he was seen as a terrorist, but in much of the Middle East, he was seen as a legend. A former bricklayer turned master strategist. Everywhere Iran had a proxy war, he was there. This raises the question, so how did Iran build this massive web?
God damn!
A rocket crashes into an American base in Iraq. No warning, no claim of responsibility, just silence and smoke. In the Pentagon briefing, they believed that this was the work of an Iranian-backed militia.
Our teams here are continuing to do the analysis, but we know that Iran is behind it, and certainly, as we've said before here in this briefing room, Iran continues to arm and equip these groups to launch these attacks.
But which militia and why? No Iranian flag, no uniform, just a name few had heard: Kataib Hezbollah. Iraqi by nationality, but their weapons, their training, their orders, all traced back to one invisible thread. A thread spun by Quds Force, the architects of the web, of loyal militias, ideological warriors, and behind it all was Qasem Soleimani. And why they are doing it? Iran couldn't win wars the American way. No aircraft carriers, no billion-dollar arsenals, but they could do something smarter, something scarier. They built a network of people, fighters, believers, loyalists, not based in Tehran, but in Baghdad, Damascus, Beirut, and Sana'a. They called it the axis of resistance. But what is it called was the web. Here's how it works. The IRGC, Iran's elite military guardians, identify groups in chaos zones. These people have anger. The IRGC gives them direction, training, money and missiles, basically a new identity. In Iraq, Kataib Hezbollah, Asaib al-Haq. In Syria, pro-Iran Shia militia fighting for Assad. In Yemen, the Houthis. In Lebanon, the crown jewel, Hezbollah. A political party, a militia, a full-on state within a state. Each group has its own face, its own flag, its own language. But behind the curtain, one ideology, one wallet, one commander, Qasem Soleimani. And why this strategy works? This strategy gives Iran's plausible deniability. No smoking gun, no need for Iran to declare war. It's cheap, it's global, and it's unstoppable unless you cut the thread. This isn't just about survival, it's about influence. Iran doesn't want to conquer its neighbors, it wants to shape them from inside. There is a question we've been avoiding, not how Iran built its empire, but why. Let's understand that. In 1979, Ayatollah Khomeini stepped off a plane in Tehran and set fire to the old world. The Shah was gone, the monarchy was over. What replaced was something the world hadn't seen in centuries: a modern theocracy, a state ruled by God, or rather by who speak in his name. Khomeini didn't just want to rule Iran, he wanted to reshape the entire Islamic world. His vision: export the revolution. Iran would support the oppressed everywhere and spread the Walayat-e-Faqih system, a world where Islamic clerics held ultimate authority, just like in Iran. But Khomeini knew Iran couldn't do this with tanks. It was too weak, too isolated. So he built something different: a network of proxies, not puppets, but true believers. Fighters, thinkers, and operatives who saw Tehran as the spiritual capital of resistance. That's why the IRGC wasn't just an army, it was a mission. That's why Soleimani didn't just train militants, he inspired them with stories of martyrdom and destiny. Today, Iran's allies called it the axis of resistance, a phrase whispered in mosques and chanted on battlefields. To the west, it's a threat.
As the crisis in the Middle East escalates, there's one country the US references all the time.
We do not want this war to widen. But if Iran or its proxies attack US personnel anywhere, make no mistake, we will defend our people, we will defend our security, swiftly and decisively.
This isn't just politics, it's eschatology. A belief that the end times will bring a great war and Iran must be ready to lead the faithful. Khomeini's successors still believe this, the Quds Force still acts on this, and millions still follow this. Iran doesn't want to win wars, it wants to outlast empires. And Khomeini still whispers in every shadow. Sometimes even you plan so good, some things always go south. In late 2022, a young woman named Mahsa Amini died in the custody of Iran's morality police. What followed wasn't just a protest, it was an explosion.
Iran doesn't want you to see. Police firing in the streets, women cutting their hair, burning hijabs in rage, students' demonstrations. People have taken to the streets across Iran, angry at the government after a woman died while in police custody.
The empire was facing a blowback. The Iranian regime had always used external enemies to unify internal factions. But after years of economic isolation, inflation, sanctions, the anger turned inward. The youth, especially women, are no longer buying into the resistance axis narrative. Iran's network of proxies isn't as unified as it once was.
So the US has struck Iran's nuclear sites. Tehran is mulling a response. And amid all of this, there is one question doing the rounds. Where is Iran's so-called axis of resistance? The Hezbollah in Lebanon, the Houthis in Yemen, the Hamas in Gaza, the Popular Mobilization Forces in Iraq. They are known as Iran's proxies in the region. Since October 7th, Israeli attacks have crippled them massively, but they still remain active. So will they join Iran's strikes, or will they watch from the sidelines?
The Hezbollah. This group used to be Iran's most powerful partner. Its missiles, its fighters, its ability to threaten northern Israel. It was the crown jewel of the resistance axis. But today it's quiet. And not just quiet, it is deliberately quiet. When pressed for a response, Hezbollah's spokesman said, "Iran is capable of defending itself." Translation: this is not our fight.
The threads are loosening. Soleimani was more than a general, he was a glue. After his assassination, no one has truly replaced him. His death shattered the myth of invincibility both inside Iran and outside. Even the IRGC had become more bureaucratic, less visionary. Without its architect, the empire has become a machine without a soul. Normalization between Israel and Arab nations, like under the Abraham Accords, the empire still breathes, but the shadows it hides are fading. So, here we are, after shadow wars and alliances inked in blood, after drone strikes and revolutions, after the US and Israel strike the sites, the invisible empire still stands. But today, it's no longer invisible. If you found this information valuable, consider subscribing to The Thought Effect and share it with someone who's curious. More videos are on the way. Thanks for watching.